in light of what's going on in Ohio, holy shit, I'm seeing a lot of opinions on the matter. And there's a lot of opinions that I very much agree with, and there's a lot of opinions that I very much don't. A kid gets shot, and it's tragic. It's tragic regardless of how it happens, whether it's a police officer or not. A child is shot, or shot and killed, or anything. It's heartbreaking. And I understand where the emotional response comes from. I get it. I understand where the anger comes from. I understand where some of the confusion comes from. I do get it. I understand. Yes, emotions are real. Yes, feelings are real. However, we do kind of have to break these things down. If as people we're going to move forward and we're going to speak on law enforcement injustice and police violence and violence in general, we do have to sort of look at things from both sides of the coin. There is no I'm right all the time and all the time I'm right. There is no all the time I'm correct and all the time. I just got a text message, sorry. There is no all the time I'm right and I'm right all the time. There is no you're right all the time and all the time you're right. There's no one side is always correct and there's no this side's always correct. None of that exists. None of that matters. What we need to do as people is take a nuanced approach to things and actually break things down and think about real world scenarios and why certain decisions are made when they're made. So that's why I'm doing this. Funny enough. Now, a lot of you know me. Most of you know me. If you're on Facebook with me, you know me. I am not a policeman, not in the military. That's not my background. I do have a background in defensive tactics training just in my private life as a private citizen because it's something that I've always been very, very interested in. But I am not a law enforcement officer. I'm also not a lawyer. So don't take any of what I say as legal advice. I'm not an attorney. When it comes to shootings, police shootings, now we have body cams, which are great because it gives us kind of a bird's eye view on the situation to a certain degree, because there are plenty of instances where the body camera is 45 degrees wide, something happens at 90 degrees, and you might not catch that. But in this instance, it's actually very, very helpful. So what we have is a 15-year-old girl who, there's reports that say she was jumped by this group of girls, and it was a fight. It was a big fight, in essence. The story is 15-year-old girl who was shot, was jumped by a group of girls, boys, people, whatever, and she went back and defended herself with a knife and was shot and killed by a policeman. There's not a lot of detail on the story, and there's also, I haven't seen any video from the scene prior to the cops' arrival, so it's really hard to make that decision. But from the body cam footage, you can clearly see a figure going after somebody with a knife. Here's my problem. This figure is going after somebody with a knife. Regardless of whether she was jumped or not, even me, and again, it happened here in my state of Pennsylvania over the winter, the ego battles are getting people killed. And it's crazy to say because everybody knows I'm a pretty confident guy and I don't necessarily like to just step away from things, but I've learned the ego battle is gonna get somebody, it'll get you killed. So here's what happened. I get into a fight, I'm angry, I'm pissed off, whatever. I have guests at the house or whatever. Someone shows up at my front door and we fight, right? That person now lets go, I retreat to go retrieve a knife. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying this was clearly a knife from inside the house. This was a kitchen knife. So either A, she grabbed this knife and walked out the door ready to fight, which immediately ruins the self-defense aspect of it because close your door and stay inside. 2, she ran back in the house, got the knife, and then came back outside, which again ruins the self-defense aspect of it. It is not self-defense. If I get into a fight, we're done. I back off. And then I walk across the house and get a knife and come back. That's not self-defense anymore. That's attempted murder. So, and we had this conversation about Kyle Rittenhouse, where people say he should have just left, where apparently that wasn't self-defense. In my opinion, he's being surrounded by a mob and some dude's whacking him in the head with a skateboard. I'm taking that shot too. But that was not called self-defense. because, well, he wasn't even supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to own a firearm. What the hell was he doing? So all those points are valid. So we have to also use the same principles here. How does a kitchen knife end up outside the house? You have to have brought it there, which means that either you went back in to get it or you brought it with you knowing there was going to be a confrontation. I'm not leaving my house with a weapon knowing that I'm going to get in a fight outside my house. That's not how I'm handling that, because I know for a fact I'm going to jail. That's not self-defense. If I walk out of my house with a weapon knowing that a violent encounter is going to ensue, okay? That aspect aside, right? Let's not blame the dead here. Police show up. They see her going after somebody with a knife. Looked like he was walking across the street or walking towards them or something. There were a few other angles, but it looks like they were walking towards the incident in general. They see her go after somebody with a knife. They take a shot, kill her instantly. Well, not instantly, I don't think, but they killed her, right? Threat averted. Whoever at that point, the victim was, is okay. Not stabbed. For the most part, uninjured, I imagine. I imagine they got into a fight, so there's probably some injuries, but she wasn't stabbed. The 15-year-old girl with the knife is dead. And everybody's up in arms because a white policeman shot a black girl. Here's the thing. Again, I'm not a policeman, but I can only think about what my train of thought would be in a similar situation. And listen, if it's my job to protect, it's my job to put myself, it's my job to put myself in life-threatening situations where someone else's life may be on the line. I see a girl with a knife. I'm taking that shot. Absolutely. I'm not tasing her. I'm not pepper spraying her, because you know what? If I was standing in your living room with a knife, I guarantee you, if I'm running at you with a knife or I'm chasing your family member with a knife, the last thing you're going for in that house is something that's less lethal. You're going for the easiest tool to stop me from hurting whoever I'm attempting to hurt. I guarantee it every time. And if you say, well, yeah, but I think about, you're lying to yourself. And I hate to put it that way, but you're flat out lying to yourself. Because if I'm sitting in my house and I have guests, and one of my guests goes after my fiance or my girlfriend or whoever, they go after someone in my family with a knife, the absolute last thing I'm thinking is, how can I do this without hurting him? I'm saying, I'm stopping this person regardless. That's just what it is. That's the name of the game. And you know what? Regardless of what the fight was over or whether the fight was about whatever or who was right or who was wrong, subjectively speaking, that little girl's, the other girl's family absolutely appreciates this officer taking that shot and stopping the threat and keeping their kid from dying. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you they're not standing outside protesting against this cop that shot the 15-year-old girl. Why? Because the 15-year-old girl was getting ready to kill their family member. It is what it is. It sucks. It's tragic. But realistically speaking, what can you do? It's an impossible scenario. People always say, well, just shoot her in the arm. Shoot her in the leg. Shoot the knife out of her hand. Those people have, one, clearly never fired a gun before, and two, never taken a defensive tactics course. Because right now, I'm standing in front of you. I'm 6'4" and on a ballpark of 300 pounds, but I'm working on it. 6'4", 300 pounds. My torso measures approximately, I don't have my tape measure with me. My torso measures approximately, I'm going to call it 3 feet tall by about a foot and a half, 2 feet wide. I got pretty big shoulders, 2 feet wide. My arm is about 3 feet long, yes, and at its widest point, maybe 6 inches, maybe. Not that, I'm a big guy, but I'm not fucking Schwarzenegger big. Maybe 6 inches. Of those two shots, which are you more likely to make? Probably the 2x3 target. In addition to that, even as I'm talking to you now, my arms move a lot more than my torso does, which means this target is now effectively 5 times harder to hit than this one is. Not only because of the size, but because it's physically moving. It's not always where I left it. It's not always where it was before. Aiming a firearm is not a split-second thing. It can be, and that's just sort of taking what's called I forget the exact term. It's basically getting an acceptable sight picture as opposed to a perfect sight picture. A sight picture where I know my round is going to make an effective hit, but I'm not necessarily honing it in by the inch. And when I say sight picture, I actually like to show you what I mean. This weapon's clear, right? No round in the chamber. Okay, so an acceptable sight picture would be, you see that green dot on the front? It would be where I can catch the silhouette of that green dot in the channel between my rear sights. It's hard to get on camera. This is the one that I carry. Okay, this is the weapon that I carry, okay? Now, the sight picture on this is a little bit different because it has an optic on the top, but see that little dot? See that dot right there? That dot makes it a lot easier for me to take this out of a holster, press out, get on target, and I can actually see where my dot is, right? That dot is great at getting an acceptable sight picture. It's great at getting a perfect sight picture because I'm kind of ignoring my sights altogether when I'm using the dot. Problem is that dot moves a lot. So let's take a look here. So see the dot. Right now, you see where I'm aimed. Let's take my smoke detector, which is kind of hard for me to do on camera. Let's come down a little bit. Smoke detector, right? That is approximately 7 yards from me. And as you can see, even my little tiny movements, just from standing here, it's very, and I'm also kind of working backwards here, but it is very difficult for me to keep my dot centered on that smoke detector, which is admittedly small. It's about 3 inches around. Now imagine trying to do that without a dot, using just your iron sights, where you're trying to focus on your front sight, and also while you're moving. Good luck. Good luck. Even the people that are trained the most to shoot and move, John Lovell, U.S. Army Ranger, some of the best shooters in the world are trained to shoot and move, and they will still elect to stop, press out, and get a shot off. Why? Because if I'm stopped, even if it's just for a split second, I can stop, somewhat let my body settle, I can get my trigger pull straight back, and I can break my shot without a bunch of wiggling. It takes approximately, if you're good, a half second to get your weapon out of your holster and get it on target. Approximately a half second. And that's if you are paying attention, ready to get that weapon out, a half second to get that weapon out and on target. Getting a sight picture, getting your trigger pull, it's another second or so. They say you should have under a 2-second draw to first shot. Not everybody's got good. I'm not. I've shot it quite a bit. But a 2-second draw to first shot is tough. From a standstill, let alone when you're walking up to somebody. The reason we're not shooting for arms, legs, knives, baseball bats, whatever, is because, one, I'm moving, and it's tougher to make a shot when I'm moving. It's tougher to make a shot when I'm either walking up to somebody or retreating from somebody, doing something, moving my body from one place to another. It is tough to make that shot in a perfect world. Two, not only am I moving, but my target is moving. So now I've got to make sure that I'm aiming while I'm moving at what is a moving target, literally a moving target. And then three, not only am I moving, not only is my target moving, but my sights are moving too. Because they would look like this in a perfect world. You have a rear sight that looks like that and a front sight that looks like this. But remember, they're not the size of my fingers. They are a fraction of that. So now I'm trying to balance this around, where my front sight might be behind here, my front sight might be behind there, it might be low, it might be high. I'm now trying to focus on my front sight while I'm moving and while my target's moving. And while my body is physically doing this and I'm trying to keep an eye on what's going on around me. Shooting for the arm or the leg is impossible in that situation. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that they take shots for center mass. Now, let's say you get you get the perfect world good guy cop, right? The perfect world good guy cop decides, oh no, she's got a knife. I need to take a shot right now. Gets his weapon out, half a second, gets the weapon on target. Another second's gone by. He gets a shot picture, great. He aims for the arm, bang, the shot breaks, and it goes right through her arm and hits the victim in the head. Now what? Right? Because I did the right thing. I didn't want to kill her, so I took the shot. And, well, I didn't have a great backstop. And now what? Or, which is a far more likely scenario than actually hitting the arm, by the way. Perfect world cop, he's walking up to someone, there's a threat, right? Oh no, there's a threat. Half a second, get my weapon out of the holster, on target, 1 second, sight picture, trigger breaks, bang, and he misses completely. And then the round goes through the window of the car and hits a kid across the parking lot. Now, what we have is, while the bullet's traveling, the little Timmy down there, while the bullet's going through the window of the car, it's traveling and it's going to keep going. Well, now little Timmy's shot, and the victim is still stabbed. The person that you were going to stop doesn't just stop because it was a big bang. They're just going to keep going. So now the person who's 3 inches from the person, 2 inches from the person, and now your victim has a knife in their head. And what happens? I'm a policeman. The girl still got a knife. She's just stabbed somebody. Absolutely a deadly threat. I'm not even aware of what happened to the kid through the car yet. So I take a second shot, a third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot, and I put all those center mass because I need to stop her. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, she falls with the knife. So now I got a dead perp, I got a dead victim, and I got a dead bystander because I took a shot at an arm, trying to shoot to wound instead of shooting to stop the threat. There's a reason policemen don't shoot like that. There's a reason that they're trained not to shoot that way. What we have to do as people is understand that these situations are going to happen as long as we are people, because people are by nature violent. Sad to say, but by nature, people get angry and they get violent. It's been happening since prehistoric times. It's been happening since we were cavemen. I'm angry and I stab you with my spear. That's just kind of that's who we are. We've progressed to the point where we're able to talk our way out of situations. We're able to calm ourselves down. We're able to actually have intelligent thought and remove ourselves from certain situations. And that's great, but it's not foolproof. It's not foolproof. So we are going to have police. The police are always going to be armed, and they're going to be put in these situations. It's tragic, but it's going to happen. And the only thing we can do, if we hope to make any progress as far as, police reform or police training or whatever you want to call it, the only hope we have, if we're going to make any progress with that, is to actually understand that, yes, there are situations in which police act badly. There are situations in which mistakes are made. There are situations in which poor decisions are executed. There are also situations where a cop is simply doing their job and they were put in an impossible situation and they have an impossible choice to make. And instead of picking the absolutely terrible thing, they picked the bad thing because that's all they have. Real world, there is no everybody gets a happy ending. That doesn't exist. Real world, sometimes you get a terrible idea and a bad idea. You have to pick one. There is no just stop. Hopefully it sheds some light. That's my opinion on this one. Okay, don't get me as one of those guys that just, the fucking, oh my God, the police are up. No, I get it. There are a lot of shitheads out there. This instance, I don't think this is one of them. I think this was a cop put in a bad spot, who had to make a tough choice. Personally, I think the tough choice was the right choice. It sucks to say, but the tough choice this time was the right choice. The bad choice was better than the terrible choice. Anyway, this is getting long. I'm going to end this because my girlfriend's been texting me for the past 20 minutes. And you know how it is. If you don't answer right away, you know, if you're standing at the door with a fucking pump action. So I'm going to let you go. That's it. Thanks for listening if you did.